Hey, good. Hey, Yitzhak, how the heck's it going, buddy?
Oh, great, Chris. Good to see you.
So excited to have you here. For those people who are not familiar with yourself, do you want to give everyone a little introduction?
Yeah, sure, Chris. So my name is Yitzhak Kesselman. I lead real-time intelligence at Microsoft. I'm VP, and as part of the portfolio is the Azure messaging stack, big data analytics, Azure Maps, and more.
Well, I Azure Maps. I didn't know that.
Yep,
Learning something new every day.
more to come, but
Oh, exciting, exciting. So welcome to Working with Data. This is our long form conversations where we dig in deep with people like yourselves who work with data on a regular basis and like understand how we can better do the day-to-day jobs with data. So if you're new to the show, sit back, relax. We're going to be having a great conversation with Yitzhak where we're going to be talking about real-time intelligence and like the revolution that's coming with it. So Yitzhak, maybe you'd be like one of the better people on the planet to tell us uh, how do we get started with real time intelligence? Where did this come from? What is the vision that Microsoft has for real time intelligence?
so Chris, I think maybe we can start back. What is the problem and what we are trying to
Oh,
solve here, and like where where
that's
we
even
are
better.
today.
Yeah.
Again, I've been with data almost 25 years. This summer is going to be 25 years working with data, and it was across different types of data from kind of embedded on the edge to petabytes of data scale, I don't know, 20 years ago, which was crazy high. But today it's nothing. And the point that today is almost very small amounts of data is because like the world of data is accelerating in a very high pace. The amount of data that we are collecting as organizations, as businesses, is growing exponentially. And now with the era of AI, which everyone speaks about, LLMs, AI, machine learning, those amounts of data are really exploding. And we see this data coming across different variety of sources and across all verticals of the industry. It doesn't matter if you're like a heavy IoT manufacturing or your healthcare or retail, all of us have a lot of data. And then what we do about that. And I think so far the tools were traditional around collecting the data, aggregating them, and creating reports. Again, I started my career at Microsoft on the Power BI team. So there is nothing more beautiful than a Power BI report. But in those days and ages, it might be not enough.
You started in Power BI. What did you do on the Power BI team?
Yeah, so I started first working on the mobile apps,
Okay.
so the phone mobile apps across platform, first the iOS and then others, and then I've moved to running the service, and I think that's where we met, and
Yeah.
that was
You
a good
one
journey.
at one point in time told me the number of petabytes that you had to like oversee and manage the load of every day, and it just knocked my socks off. Um, but that was a long time ago. I don't know if
Yeah,
you remember what that was, but that was
yeah.
crazy.
So today, organization are having all this data and what to do about it, and the expectations of users are very high, higher than ever before, especially with LLMs, OpenAI, Copilot, etc.
Mhm.
Users wants to get answers fast, and they wanted to get fast, not only fast, but also the granularity level that they want. Like if we're speaking about like healthcare, they want to know exactly what is like where a specific medication is or where is the specific status of every bed in the hospital. If you're speaking about
Mm.
logistics, stuff like where is a specific package and when it's going to arrive and what are the parameters across time. And those kind of problems that we see across all verticals of the industry really need the different tool sets that solve those problems. And that's where real-time intelligence come in to enable users across all types of roles. So it's not only data engineer or data scientist. Every business user should be able to run the operations of their business at the high granularity level.
Wait a minute. So you're telling me my import my data once a day in Power BI isn't going to be sufficient for the rest of my career?
Sorry to bust your bubble, but yeah, I don't think that's the future. At least based on the signals that we are seeing from our customers and the demand, they're really like a really very high demand for really do more than that, more than just looking at the dev report. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a good start, but I think if you're running a business and you look at your report once a day, once a week, or once a month, it means that you probably lost an ability to act in an interval of a day, of a week, of
Mm.
a month. So you could lose a revenue, or even more than that, of a day, of a week, of a month. And those could be dramatic. And there could be a lot of businesses that can live or die based on that. So it's very important to be able to act fast, but in a way that is scalable.
Mm. Yeah, I think one of the big, like, for the long time we've heard, oh, can we have real time data? Can we have it like right away? But I think the tool sets and the capabilities have really been lacking in the past. What types of investments are Microsoft making to make it more accessible and easier for people to interact with, as well as scalable and stable, so that an enterprise can depend upon it?
Yeah, so when we launched Power BI,
Hmm.
the motto was 5 by 5, meaning 5 seconds to sign up, 5 minutes for wow.
Mm.
And the whole idea of Power BI at the time was, hey, we want to make sure that we're doing democratization of data across organizations. So everyone in the company, every information worker should be able to access the data, do basic analytics on the data that they need, and they will be kind of a bit self-sufficient, and they will be able to understand what they need for their business. And the same thing we are trying to do with real-time intelligence.
Mm.
It's a bit of a bigger problem, because I'm speaking here about not aggregated data, not summarized data. It's not about like I want to see my sales report and I can understand sales report. Here I'm speaking about individual data points, but we want to make sure that every business, every person, what we call non-technical business user, everyone that runs their business, runs the operations of their business, will be able to understand what's happening in near real time in the organization, and they will be able to automate processes to really act on this data in near real time. So they will be on top of their business with the help of machines. And the sales investments that we are doing, again, we launched real-time intelligence in May a year
Hmm.
ago, and it was GA last November. We invested a lot in those capabilities to really democratize and enable business users to work with this kind of data. Yeah,
I
the
got
new
the
color.
sticker. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
yeah.
So I have to say, and people don't know this at the time of the recording, I literally just yesterday got a new certification on applied skills for implementing real time intelligence from the Microsoft Learn portal. That learning program was actually, like, I really liked it because it took me step by step through the process. And while it wasn't 5 seconds to sign up and 5 minutes to wow, it was 5 seconds to sign up for Learn, right? But it took me, like, I think an hour 45, 2 hours to like work through the learning courses and take the training and get certified. But that was pretty. I want to say it was pretty straightforward and easy for me to understand what the steps were, because I'm going to admit I haven't touched like some of this technology in a little while, and it was pretty straightforward. What types of feedback are you getting from users about like the accessibility and training and in order to achieve that scale?
So we are seeing, again, as I was saying, we are seeing really kind of transformation in organization. I just came last week from visiting customers in Dubai and India, and I heard like really amazing stories about like how they're thinking about the future of their business. And I heard from all of the customers that are looking to really to change how they think about their business. They really
Mm.
want to move from the kind of the batch world. They still need the batch world for reference data, but they really want to be acting fast on the data. That means that's not only a technological change for the organization, that's also a cultural change. Like they need their business operators to think a
Mm.
bit differently. They need to think that their data engineer, data scientist will think a bit differently. And that's why we are kind of investing in this tooling to make it really accessible and easy for our users to act on it easily. And we're investing in, first of all, in the product itself. Again, it's a journey. We started
Hmm.
recently, as I mentioned. We are not retiring. We have way more work to do, and that's why we're going to invest in the upcoming months to really even make it even more easier and smoother for our customers to use the product. But we're also investing in the documentation, the tutorials. But as you mentioned, it's quite easy or dramatically easier. Again, I'm a bit biased, but from the feedback that I'm hearing from you and other customers, it's quite easier for business users to start working with this data. They can, if they get a real-time dashboard, they can see what's going on. They can, with few clicks of a button, they can start and exploring this data. They can use also natural language to really query in their words
Yeah.
what's behind it, and that's something they couldn't do. And here's we're speaking here about its scale of like petabytes, terabytes of data, of high granularity data, to be able to ask, for example, I know where my specific package routed in the last 5 seconds and what's the next destination, or I want to understand what is the status of a certain, I don't know, medical equipment and when it was last serviced and what's the next whatever projected failure time. I'm speaking here about data that you can think of like automating stuff like um, again, a story like Johnson Controls presented it at the
Mm.
Ignite conference. They use real-time intelligence to really automate all their kind of chillers in the building. They're
Mm.
building smart buildings. They use the chillers, which is mission critical to control the temperature. You can think about Texas or other regions where temperature could be very important in
Right.
airports, hospitals, schools, etc. And they use kind of to stream all their data in high granularity. And it's not that they didn't have a system before, but it allowed them to really use the new tool set from Microsoft, from Fabric Real-Time Intelligence, to really optimize it, to really have a better optimized solution. They were able to save a ton of money, and their CTO shared more than 50% savings. They got better
Wow.
performance. And they also, like, the most important part, and that's where the businesses are going and where the
Hmm.
kind of the industry is going, they're able to reduce kind of predictive failure by more than 80%. It means that they have a cheaper system, more performant system on the high granularity data. And because they have the high granularity and not the aggregates, they were able to predict way more failures than before. And that's a ton of money for those companies.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And I love what you said about kind of democratizing it and getting in the hands of business people and making it easy enough for do that to just be able to like ask questions of your data and get it back in a natural way. I'll say when I was getting certified, I was a little intimidated by KQL because I just haven't touched KQL in a while. I was like, oh no, I'm going to have to learn this language. And then I went, wait a minute, I've got Copilot. Will Copilot just, hey, I need a KQL statement that does XYZ? And it just gave it to me. I didn't have to, I don't know if that's cheating or not, but like I just had the answer and it
Yeah.
was awesome. I was really excited about that.
So it's not cheating. And again, KQL is very powerful. We'll take your certification after this call. Thank you. Uh, it's not cheating. KQL is a very powerful language, and the team invested a lot to build it such. And it's really powerful and it's really useful, but it's for a bit for more advanced users. And we want
Mhm.
to make sure that every business user, like if you're running like your floor shop, or for example, Taco Bell shared also their story how they use real-time intelligence. There are store managers in every kind of Taco Bell store now in production use real-time intelligence.
Wow.
We are not expecting Taco Bell store managers to use KQL. Maybe for the advanced, they want to upscale their skills, but want them to use natural language. It also supports T-SQL, but that's the goal. That's where we're aiming.
But think of how empowering that is. And what a story that is for that individual Taco Bell manager who comes up with an idea, sees an optimization, is on the front line. In the past, that person would have no access to IT or to be able to actually implement or do something like that. But with real time analytics, they're able to go in and do those types of things if that's what they want. And that could be career changing for them, right? They could find a passion for data and a passion for this work and just really go from, hey, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with being a Taco Bell manager, but like, if they want that career in data, that's an awesome opportunity.
Yeah,
Um,
on the personal level, that the part that kind of I'm most proud of my career, working on the Power BI product and how it's really democratized. And many individuals, there's many stories about individuals that moved from the other professions to the data professions, to BI or visualization or really data professionals. Like for me, like personal as a human being, it's very humbling and rewarding to hear those stories. It's really like changing the industry. And on Taco Bell specifically, it really opens people's ideas and minds. Like Niraj from Taco Bell sharing this with me at Ignite again, like how they were able to reduce the time that their store operators could get those reports in action. So I think it's more than just the time, like it from an hour or so to seconds, but it's more than that changing from an hour and second in a fast food, it's like day and night. Like if you
yeah.
have if a report that refreshes once an hour in fast food, like what you can do about it. But if it's seconds, like you can really automate, you can really predict, you can really understand where your load is going to come and how you can act on it, and you're no longer hopeless. Like you as a store manager have visibility, you have your business in your control, so it really changes how people think about their day to day.
I absolutely love that. Now, Yitzhak, you mentioned two different changes as you were describing your conversations in Dubai that I would like to get some more information or thoughts on. Number one, you said leaders need to start thinking about data differently and changing the way they approach data. And then you said, and our data engineers, data scientists, and data analysts need to adjust accordingly. What are some of those changes that if you're a leader of an organization or you're looking at this going, yeah, but I just don't have any needs for real time, batch once a day is sufficient? What are the changes a leader could be making to realize what advantages they could start to have?
Yeah, the stuff that really surprised me, speaking of kind of leadership, like CXO level, like chief data officer, chief information officers, or even like CEOs of companies, I was surprised by how much they really want this. Like I heard from a CDO of a very large telecom company in the world, maybe the largest, that their CEO told them, "I don't care about batch. Like I want everything in real time." And I was okay. No need to sell RTI here. Done. Uh, but there is more and more organization that really start to understand the demand, and especially on the CXO level, they understand, hey, to be able to be competitive in the business, they need really to be fast with data. They need really to be able to act on it, and they need to act not on the aggregates but in the individual data points. So
Mm-hmm.
I think in most of those levels they understand this. I think the question there, what they do about it and
Mm-hmm.
how they drive the requirements of the business requirements to their like IT and data departments to tell them, hey, that's what I need, and I really mean it, and show them other examples of successful kind of implementation in the industry, so their data engineers, data scientists will understand that it's not mission impossible. It's the reality. So that's kind of maybe guidance there for that level of audience.
So, and you tell me if I'm off on this, but what's jumping to my mind is we're adjusting our thoughts around operational analytics and operational reporting from that once a day to how can they change the way I'm acting on a moment by moment basis to yield better results. Right? Is that
Yeah,
right?
definitely. And again, I'm trying to avoid all the AI hype and using the the bingo. But speaking of agentic world, a
Mm,
bit, real-time intelligence is really a space where we can demonstrate a real value in that. Because in space of like business operations, having a virtual agent, which is augmented part of the team that really finds you insights, takes actions, it's something that is very natural,
Mm,
and you can relate to that. And that's something where if you have this data streaming in your real time, you have automations. It's your
mhm.
first step to get to this world of like agentic AI, and we are seeing kind of implementations of this.
Oh, and then so this is your stepping stone. This is the first step and you correct me if I'm wrong again, but to me and this makes a ton of sense. These are the first steps to build out your feeds, to build out your pipelines, to help adjust your operations that then lead to a highly successful agentic workflow system. Yeah?
Correct. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that makes tons of sense. So that doesn't mean we're getting rid of governance. It's
No.
this is the first
No.
step that
No.
leads to like governance, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I like that. I like that a lot. Um, now if I'm a data engineer, data scientist, how am I going to have to adjust the way I work to be able to enable this inside my organization and to like even integrate this into the work that my teams are doing?
Yeah, so the product itself will be tools that cater to all roles. Like if you're a business user, but also if you're data engineer or data scientist. So if you're a data engineer, we provide both an ability kind of to use code and APIs, but also
Hmm.
there is a UI that you can use. And I think the main point here for data engineers, when they think about their data architecture, they need to go back to the source or something shift left, like go back to the source. Where is data coming from, how it's coming from, how it's originated. Like go the furthest at the beginning of the data generation and see how early you can capture it there, because most of the data coming as discrete events or streams of data,
Mm.
they don't they're not born in a in a SQL
They're not born
bucket.
in batch.
No, no, usually don't. So that's kind of an advice there, and that's where we see kind of data architects
Mm.
think about how they're shifting this, and this allows them also to save a lot of money. uh, Although there is a lot of concerns about money and price and real time probably expensive. Again, it's one of the myths that we like to bust, kind of showing those, not our benchmark but real customer stories in real production. It's very important to that we will hear from customers, because benchmarks are benchmarks, like they don't represent the real world. And at the end, it's cheaper and it allows you to do way more with this data.
Okay, well, tell me about that because that's been a big concern that I've had is that, okay, if I start streaming all this data, I'm just going to run all these capacities and it's going to be very expensive for me. How do I design and build this so that it is less expensive and I don't know, maybe it helps me reduce my cost on my batch processing or something along those lines. How should I be thinking about that as an architect or as a data engineer?
Yeah. So the recommendation for us is to look like where the data is originated and how it's originated, and what you're gonna and how you're gonna use it. Uh, the cold storage or whatever, the long-term storage, it's pretty cheap. The question is like all the transformation, how costly they're going to be, and what
Mhm.
you're going to do about that. So the recommendation is, if the data is originated as a stream or a change feed, like you can connect to this easily using event stream in Fabric
Mm.
real-time intelligence, and we support connectors cross cloud. Again,
Mm.
the one of the important things of Fabric real-time intelligence, we are although it's a Microsoft product, but we're an open ecosystem. Like we
Mm.
use open source formats, and we're making sure that the data is your data, it's not our data, and we connect to data across clouds. It doesn't matter if it's Microsoft sources, Google PubSub, AWS Kinesis, Confluent Cloud, etc. We build those connectors that you can connect and bring this data easily in, so the users can then transform and act on this data. And at the end, it always lands in Delta Parquet.
And is that where the real-time hub comes into play?
Yeah, yeah. One of the things of the real-time hub is really this kind of central place for all your streaming data. Our goal there is to make sure that both business users can find streams that they can take action. Again, there are more advanced business users that they want to do their own automation. And again, the automation is few clicks of a button. It's not a
Right.
complex thing. It's like you can set a rule on a certain stream of data, etc. And the real-time hub is really the place where you can find all your streams of data across your
Mm.
organization. Of course, everything is governed with the right permission, etc. But that's where you can find all your streams in one place. It doesn't matter from where they come. And the big part of it is to reduce kind of the duplications. And that's kind of big part of kind of also saving the money. Um, because if you have signing of data, probably in your organization, you're bringing the same stream of data, I don't know, 5, 10, 10,000 times. And here you need to bring it one. And it's centrally governed, curated, certified. So now everyone can use it and derive other streams out of it.
Oh, so I've got the same functionality like I would with other capabilities in Fabric. So I can certify it. Can I tag it?
Yeah, you can certify it, you can put tags on it, and then you can find in the real-time hub. And then what you can do is really start reusing it or create derived stream of it. Maybe the what's called the parent stream is not perfect, but then you can create a derived stream that you want to use for a specific scenario, and that's not going to interfere with others.
Oh gosh, that's awesome. And then because I've created it in the same platform, it's easy for me to hand that logic and that code over to the central team if we want to like make that imperfect like certified stream better, right?
Yeah, correct. And also other users, like they can see all the streams, but then they can choose the streams that are really certified, and they can
Mm.
use those, or they know that there is a stream which is not perfect, but it's really what they're looking for, so that they can use it. And also central IT, they can see the visibility of the usage, and once they see a certain stream that's like very popular, hey, should we look into that, making sure that we don't have some rogue data or wrong understanding of our business. So that's something that allows also IT to have control of it.
Gosh, I love the insights that this brings to bring out of the dark, out of the shadow IT, those shadow operators. It brings them into one place where people are free to work and operate. But like you said, IT has line of sight on it and can apply appropriate governance when necessary, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
oh, that's fantastic. All right, so I like how leaders need to change. I like how engineering or data scientists need to change. Let's say I'm buying in. I think I understand where you're at, Yitzhak. Like I want to like launch a project to like to start using real-time intelligence, but I want to maximize my chance for success and maximize my like hopefully maximize like my ROI so I could say, "Hey, this is an investment for my company. We should be making these changes." What are some tips or guidance can you provide to someone who's sitting in that though, that place on how they can take those steps forward?
Sure, Chris. So it's less dramatic than you're doing it. It's not a big decision.
Okay.
I think like Fabric gives you very generous trials, so you can get you can get a trial capacity and get started. And as you mentioned, you can go through the full tutorial in an hour and a half or so, and that's it. You understand the whole ecosystem. Like to
Okay.
get really successful, I'm hearing from a lot of customers. Like first, they define the scenarios. Like from business perspective, like what I would like to achieve. Again, for example, if I'm an airline or airports, I want to optimize my, let's say, luggage handling or gate reroutes or stuff like that. If I'm in a hospital, I want to optimize my availability of beds or equipment or doctors, etc. So it first starts with defining kind of the business problem, what we are trying to solve, what we are trying to optimize as the first step. And then I recommend to do like a quick hackathon, like having few people sitting together and kind of
Mhm.
working on this together. It's pretty straightforward. We also have a good set of partners that are certified on RTI that can really help kind of organizations with a more, yes, with a more complex solution. Um, but it's really easy to start. And I really recommend doing this kind of set of hackathons for a few days. And we have kind of examples of like very large enterprise that started as a hackathon and moved to production in a matter of weeks or months. And again, usually in the data space, Chris, you've been there for a while. You cannot hear from a customer that they moved from a POC to production in 3 weeks.
Like never,
Like,
never.
and today with real-time intelligence, we make it very easy. And those are kind of stories out there from customers across verticals of the industry. If it's aviation, if it's telecom, if it's logistics, they were able to start with a small POC. They saw the value and they're moving forward to production systems.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. And I think a lot of people underestimate that value of rapidly going from that POC to a production capacity, and the savings that goes into it. Right. Uh, I think the first real time streaming project I ever was part of was almost 10 years ago at this point. And I mean, it lasted like 18 months. Um, a lot of money went into that project, and it ended up dying because it wasn't yielding it wasn't yielding the proper ROI for a project that was requiring that much engineering. And it's exciting to see that the timeline for delivery is no longer 18 months. It's a 3-month POC that goes into a 3-month beta that then is in production at the end of that is potentially millions of dollars of savings. So
Yeah, and it's not a dark magic. It's intentional. Again, the problem today is that the toolset is very fragmented. Like there is a lot of products that solve part of the problem. So if you need to have a real time kind of intelligence, real time analytics, or stream processing solution, now you need to pick and choose multiple products to build this. That means that the end-to-end solution is very costly.
Yep.
And it's time consuming, as I mentioned, 18 months or so. And there's a lot of risk there because you're not sure what will end up in 18 months. Nowadays, 18 months is like forever. And also in the era of AI, the data is going to be fragmented. Some of the data in this product, some of that in that product. And what we did with Fabric Real-Time Intelligence is that we build this as a one end-to-end solution. And that's why it's so fast to get results out of it.
Okay. And yeah, I think that is that's why I love this so much. I think the other big challenge I see is, or I've had in articulating this or explaining this is, okay, so I stream data in, but today that's 1% of my data gets streamed in, 99% of my data is still batch. How do I integrate the two? And how talk me through that integration, as well as how do I go from 1% real time to 99% real time in that solution?
Yeah, so in reality, many organizations has more than 1% of streaming data. They just don't know it.
Yeah.
As I was saying, not data is not born in batches. It's born in streams. So if organizations start look and let's say shift left in the architecture and start going back to the source of the data, they will see that most of the data is stream based. Again, not always they have access, maybe not always it's easy, but they should start looking and building the architecture because it will optimize the ROI. It will reduce the amount of hops they're having, the latency, and the cost of really transforming all this data and then rerouting and processing it again and again. So that's one recommendation. The other thing is about when you have this stream of data, we store it and process it in something that's called Event House, which is a very optimized analytical engine to process high granularity and time-based data. It's our secret sauce, and that's the engine that's behind Microsoft monitoring, Azure Monitor, and Microsoft security products. It's very optimized and cost-efficient engine that's there more than 10 years in the market. So it's not something new. It's very mature.
Okay.
It operates or more than 8 exabytes of logs a month. Yeah,
Holy
exabytes.
crap.
Yeah. And this engine allows really to process and combine those streaming and batch data together in a very optimized way. So you can run those queries and connecting the world of streaming and batch together. So you can have reference data
Mm,
in one place, streaming data from the other end, and that's where you want to do your analytics. You can also do your kind of stream processing and take connections immediately in event stream. But if you
mhm.
want to run analytics there, that's the place. And this engine is very optimized. You can configure it how much is hot, how much is warm, how much is cold. So it's
Mm,
very cost efficient there.
I got it, but I have to pay a little attention to that though. I don't want exabytes of data in hot cache, right? Is that what you're saying?
I would not recommend that unless you have very good scenario, and I would love to hear that.
Well, and if that's the case, make sure you've purchased stock in Microsoft before you implement that,
Yeah,
because you're going to be making some money, I think. So,
someone should.
yeah. All right, awesome, Yitzhak. That is fantastic. Um, Now, as I start to look at this, I understand a lot of the what's going on in real time hub. I understand like the leadership changes, the usage, like how to get started, how to integrate that with my existing solution. What question am I not asking you that you think has been incredibly insightful that others have asked or wished people would ask?
Yeah, I think maybe one part is like what you do with those insights
Mm,
and how you act on those, and that's where we have activator that you can set rules, and those rules help you to take an action. The action could be an easy of an email or Teams, but it's more sophisticated. It integrates with Power Automate, so it can trigger more than 300 plus different connectors to different products like ServiceNow, etc. So you can run all your kind of business flow to be event based. And
wow.
that's also something that we have inside the Fabric, that you can trigger other workloads. So you can really implement an event based architecture inside the Fabric. So moving from time based to event based. And that's something that's very powerful for from one end to business users to really automate their processes, so they don't need to kind of to stare at the screen of the real-time dashboard. They can automate it, which is helpful, but also for data engineers to really automate their architecture inside Fabric. So that's something that is powerful and there as well.
Well, I love data activators, Teams notifications. That's something that we're seeing some real benefits of right now, and helping us stay in touch with our processes, with our loads, so we know when there's issues or data quality problems or challenges. So yeah, I think that makes a ton of great sense. Um, all right, Yitzhak, before we like sign off today, what should someone do next? If someone who's listening to this podcast is all in and is excited about this, what tips would you give them for starting off?
Again, go to Fabric, sign up, get your trial capacity, and go through the kind of the start with the samples or go through the applied skills, as Chris was saying. It's pretty easy, it's pretty straightforward. And if there is any help needed, or you're stuck, or there is feedback, we more than love to hear it. Again, Chris know me for many years. We really appreciate your feedback. That's how we get better. And we release new features every week. And we are here for you to make the product work for you. So if you have any feedback or you're stuck or something that's not working, we're here to help you. And of course, there's great partners, as Chris knows, and that are there also to help you. So yeah, let's get started.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Yitzhak, for coming and talking with us. Thank you, everyone who's sat through and listened to this conversation. I personally am very excited about RTI and the direction we're going. Honestly, I too have been working in data for over 2 decades now, and I'm starting to cross the threshold where I have to start saying almost three. I don't want to, but it is what it is. But I'm excited to for my latter half of my career to be going from all batch to I really see that future being all streams. So I'm very excited about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you
And
guys for having me.
Yeah, it's great having you. And stay tuned. We are going to have another Working with Data live stream or recording with Chris Schmidt from the Fabric Cat team. We're going to be digging in deep to some scenarios, actual code, and build outs there as well. All right. You guys have a great day. Peace. Baker Tilly Digital combines strategic industry insight and advanced technical expertise to uncover and solve your digital transformation challenges. If you're interested in learning more, check out our website at bakertilly.com/digital.